بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. Inshallah, continuing with the 40 hadith of Imam An-Nawawi. Today we'll be looking at hadith number 17, inshallah. So you just make a note of the code and then we can get started, inshallah. طيب, hadith number 17, the obligation of perfection, of al-ihsan. عن أبي يعلى شداد بن أوس رضي الله تعالى عنهما عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم, on the authority of Abu Ya'la Shaddad ibn Aus, may Allah be pleased with him and his father, who narrated from the Messenger of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم that he said, إن الله كتب الإحسان على كل شيء, that Allah has prescribed al-ihsan, or perfection, in everything, in all things. فإذا قتلتم فأحسنوا القتلة, and so if you, person who is killing, then he should kill well. وإذا ذبحتم فأحسنوا الذبح, or فأحسنوا الذبح, and when you slaughter the animal, then slaughter the animal well, with perfection. وَلْيُحِدَّ أَحَدُكُمْ شَفْرَتَهُ وَلْيُرِحْ ذَبِيحَتَهُ, and whoever of you is going to slaughter, ensure that he sharpens his blade. Let him sharpen his blade and make sure that he ensures that he spares any suffering on the animal that he is about to sacrifice. This hadith is in Al-Bukhari wa Muslim. Rawah al-Muslim. It is in the book of Imam Muslim. طيب, who is the narrator of this hadith? Is it Abu Shaddad Aus ibn Ya'la? Let's see who was listening carefully. Or Abu Aus Shaddad ibn Ya'la, or Abu Ya'la Shaddad ibn Aus. What was the name of the narrator? Those of you without the phone, you can shout out if you can remember. Abu Ya'la. What was his name? That's his kunya, Abu Ya'la. His name was Shaddad ibn Aus. Shaddad ibn Aus. طيب. So the correct answer, Abu Ya'la, is his name, his kunya, Shaddad ibn Aus. What type of Sahabi was Abu Ya'la Shaddad ibn Aus? Was he from the Muhajirun? Was he from those who migrated from Mecca to Medina? Or was he from Al-Ansar? From Al-Ansar. He was Al-Khazraji, from Al-Khazraj. So Abu Ya'la Shaddad ibn Aus ibn Thabit Al-Khazraji. And he was also his father, Aus ibn Thabit. Is there any name that this reminds you of? Aus, Hassan ibn Thabit. Hassan ibn Thabit is Sha'ir al-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the poet of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the one who would write poetry and recite poetry rather, in defense of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and in praise of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So Shaddad is, who is he to Hassan ibn Thabit? The nephew of Hassan ibn Thabit is Shaddad ibn Aus. Shaddad ibn Aus was known to be somebody who was abid, he worshipped Allah a lot. He was a zahid, somebody who had no interest in this world, and somebody who was also given positions as well. We know that Umar ibn Khattab, he gave people that didn't seek authority in the land. Those were the type of people he wanted as his governors. So Shaddad ibn Aus became the governor of Al-Hums, or was modern day Syria today, part of modern day Syria. And he resided and died in Ard Palestine, in the land of Palestine, where he is buried today. We ask Allah to set it free from the hands of the oppressive Zionists. So Shaddad ibn Aus is buried today in Al-Quds. طيب. This is the narrator. As for the hadith, إن الله كتب الإحسان, Allah has prescribed and obligated al-ihsan. If you can remember from hadith number 2, hadith Jibreel, there were levels of this deen. From the lowest level to the highest level. On your device, you can put what was the first level, the lowest level, going up. So you remember hadith Jibreel. Al-Islam awwal. So here we've done it the other way around. Islam comes first. It's the basic, bare minimum. Al-Islam. Once you have Islam, what should be the second? Al-Iman. You have Iman. Yeah. قالت الأعراب آمنا قل لم تؤمنوا ولكن قولوا أسلمنا. The Bedouin Arabs, they came to Rasulullah and they said, we have Iman, we believe in Allah. And Nabi said, was commanded to tell them, don't say that you have Iman, you don't have Iman yet. Rather say Aslamna, we have submitted to Allah. Iman comes after that. Person first accepts Islam, acknowledges that Islam is the truth, and after that he works on his Iman, his belief in Allah. And once he has his Iman, the final martaba, or the final level, is al-ihsan, to have perfection in what you're doing. Perfection in your Islam, the acts that you do. We know the pillars of Islam, the actual acts, your salah, your zakah, all these things. Perfection in your Iman, in your belief and how you are in your relationship with Allah Jalla wa ala. So this is the correct order of the levels of Islam. First we have al-Islam, which is the apparent. When you say your shahada, when you pray your salah, when you give zakah, and you do a hajj, and you fast Ramadan, these are all the apparent things. Then you work on your Iman, that which is in your belief in Allah Jalla wa ala, your relationship with Allah. And then the final level, the greatest level, is to worship Allah as if you can see Him. طيب. What is ihsan? I'm not going to translate. What does the word ihsan mean to you in terms of the meaning, in terms of the definition, in terms of what's the value of it? So we could translate it to be perfection. Yes, ihsan could be translated as perfection. Who can give me the definition that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave to Jibreel?
Worship Allah as if He's in front of you, and if you can't do that, then you're aware that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is always.
Ahsant, barakallahu feek. So this is an ta'bud Allah ka'annaka tara. This is the first point. Worship Allah as if you can see Allah in front of you. So when you're praying your salah, it's as if you can see Allah in front of you. فَإِن لَمْ تَكُنْ تَرَى فَإِنَّهُ يَرَاكَ. The lower level of al-ihsan, if you are unable to reach that level that you can, as if you can see Allah in front of you, then at least know that Allah is watching you. And here, subhanAllah, there's an important thing that if you remember we mentioned. The first level, why is it higher? If you imagine that you can see Allah in front of you, what would that lead you to do? Lead you to do greater actions. You would try your best to please Allah. Just like when you're in front of somebody, a child in front of the parent, for example, or a worker in front of their boss, whatever, they will try that when they see that they're sitting right in front of the parent, they'll do their best to please them. So when a person has this level of iman, level of ihsan, where he sees as if Allah is in front of him, he'll have more hope with Allah that he does better actions. But then the other one is if he's unable to do that, then he knows that Allah is watching him. And now this is the opposite. When somebody knows he's being watched, here it's more, what does he have? He has more fear of Allah. Because I'm fearful that I'm being watched. So I have to be careful with my actions. So here we can see how ihsan leads to both hope in Allah and also fear from Allah in doing actions that a person cannot think. So here we've got some of the things here. Worship as if you can see Allah. If not, then Allah can see you. Ihsan. Yeah? And ta'bud Allah ka'annaka tara. This is the greatest part of ihsan. This is the ihsan that we should seek. Why? Because this will encourage us to do better actions. Encourage a person to want to get up in the night. Encourage a person to want to give in charity more. Encourage a person to want to do more actions. And also the other part is important because it will instill the fear of Allah. Knowing that Allah is watching me, I'll be careful with my actions. طيب. So this is what we meant by the word al-ihsan. Now let's move into this hadith where Allah says, or where Rasulullah says that Allah has obligated upon us. What does that mean? Allah has made it compulsory for us to have al-ihsan, to have perfection in everything that we do. Everything that we do, we need to have perfection. So here, the first thing that is most important that we just mentioned, al-ihsan ma'al khaliq, to have perfection with the Creator. Allah is the one who created us, so He is the one who is deserving of our perfection. That we perfect our actions with yarhamukallah. We perfect our actions with our dealing with Allah. So for example, when we're praying the salah, when we're worshipping Allah, when we're making dua, we do it with perfection. We don't do it half-heartedly. We do it with full perfection. And the second thing that we do is al-ihsan ma'al khalq. This is the second ihsan. And this is what the hadith is mentioning. That we have ihsan with the creation. Whether that be with humanity, with our fellow human beings, whether they be Muslim or non-Muslim, whether that be with animals that we see, that are on the pathway that we see around, whether it be the land animals or the birds or the animals in the sea, or whether it be even with your environment, anything in your environment. So these are the things that we're going to have a quick look at, inshallah. So let's start off with ihsan with Allah. Ihsan with Allah. What kind of examples can we think of, and why? First of all, why do we have ihsan with Allah? Why? Somebody asks you, a non-Muslim, why do you have to try to seek perfection with Allah? What would you answer?
I'd say because Allah's watching us, and if we do sins, then it's like the
So on the thing of, okay, what we mentioned with fear, a person is fearful that if he disobeys Allah, Allah will punish him for that. But I want to go deep into asking as to why. So here, he is perfect, because Allah is perfect. Allah is perfect. There's no imperfections with Allah Jalla wa Ala. So he deserves from us that we try perfection with him. Will we be able to be perfect with Allah? No. Yet even with that, Allah is willing to forgive us for our imperfections, because how Allah is, how the mercy of Allah. Allah is perfect and is deserving of perfection. Exactly how it should be said. Yeah. Allah is perfect, and therefore He deserves all perfection. Yeah. Allah is Huwa al-Muhsin. He is the one who does perfection in everything. And so it is only right that we, in return, do that. And Allah, of course, when we mention as well that Allah, He perfected for us our creation. Yeah. Allah perfected us fi ahsani taqweem, created mankind in the best of ways. So it is only deserving that we show gratitude to Allah that Allah has perfected for us. Likewise, Allah has perfected for us this world, made it for us stable that we can live in, perfected for us our provision that we can live, we can survive. So all these things, they demand from us to show perfection to Allah when we worship Allah. Do not be worshipping Allah half-heartedly. And here what we mean by al-ihsan ila Allah, we can never reach that. We can never have our actions perfect, because we are humans. We are deficient in our nature. But what does it mean? Give your 100%. So a person, when he says perfect with Allah, is that he tries to be sincere with Allah. Allah only accepts the sincerity and the devotion of the thing. Remember the story of when we talked about Adam alayhi salam and his two sons on last Friday. One of the sons, he gave the best of what he has, and also he gave it with a full heart. This is what Allah demands from us. Not that we are perfect in our actions, but in that we what we give, we try our best to do it. And that's why inshallah at the end we get the questions. That's why at the end, that's why with Allah, what does the Hadith Qudsi say? That whoever brings partners with Allah in the worship of Allah, Allah will leave his action. Allah is not in need of his action. Why? Because you're not sincere with Allah. Had you been sincere with Allah, you would not associate any partners with Allah when it comes to worshipping Him. So this is what we mean by ihsan in your tawheed, that only Allah deserves to be worshipped. So I'm only going to worship Allah Jalla wa Ala. And that's why straight after, we know that we have our imperfections, straight after the salah, what do we say? Astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah. We ask for forgiveness for any shortcomings that we have. But out of His infinite mercy, Allah will forgive us and overlook our imperfections so long as we are pure with Allah. So this is an important note here, to be sincere with Allah and to be devout with Allah Jalla wa Ala. طيب, what examples can we have of ihsan with the creation? What examples do we have of ihsan with the creation? There are many examples. What examples can we have of ihsan with the creation? Perfection, or dealing with the creation in perfection. Salah is with Allah. Salah, we can't say salah. Being just. Ahsant. What else? Honesty. Being honest in your dealings. If you're lying and you're being deceitful, then you're not striving for perfection. You know that the person doesn't know what's happening, so you have the ability to lie. That's not you having ihsan. Rather, you having ihsan is having integrity, having being honest, keeping good relations. So here in business deals, as a person mentioned here, business deals, when you're dealing with people in business, you deal with them with integrity and honesty. I'm selling this merchandise. This is like, for example, of that man who was selling some of the merchandise, and he put the best of it on top and the worst of it at the bottom. Rasul said, whoever cheats is not from us. you're cheating the people. Somebody will come and see, oh, it's good, and he buys it. This is not ihsan. This is not the way of the Muslim. Rather, the Muslim tells you, these are the defects. The Muslim will make sure that what he sells you is something that he wants to feed his own family. This is when we see the qualities of the believer, that he does ihsan, strives for ihsan in everything. When somebody advises you, likewise, you give the best possible advice. Not advice because you want to see them go down. You give them advice as you would want for yourself. You would want them to get to levels that you would want for yourself. So there's a lot of things here. In your income as well. In your income, striving your best to be perfect with your actions in your income. How you attain your income. There's things here that also I want to mention. The first one is, that has not been mentioned here, is your parents. وَاعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَلَا تُشْرِكُوا بِهِ شَيْئًا وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. When Allah commanded us with the greatest act, which is tawheed, to worship Allah alone, don't associate any partners with Him, and He put it with what? وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. And with your parents, have perfection. Be good towards them. Be good towards your parents. Take care of your parents. And here Allah also mentions, أَنِشْكُرْ لِي وَلِوَالِدَيْكِ. Why does Allah mention, and you can write it down here if you want as well, why does Allah mention alongside Him, His right of you worshipping Him alone, that you are also dutiful to your parents? And why does Allah also mention here that be grateful to Allah and be grateful to your parents? It tells us an important thing about Islam. Tells us an important theme of Islam.
Just to show the importance of how important it is to be good to your parents. Tawheed is important, being good to your parents.
Yeah.
It's just to show the importance.
To show the importance, my question is, why has Allah put parents on that level? What is it that is the theme of Islam here? Huh?
Because when your parents have that connection, your parents also give you birth.
Parents also give you?
Birth.
He's got it. You wouldn't be alive if it wasn't be for your parents. Likewise, first and foremost, Allah is the one who created you. You wouldn't be alive had Allah not created you. And likewise, you would not be on this earth had your parents not given birth to you. So here to show you that the theme of Islam here is what? What are we doing when we do this? We're showing what? Appreciation. Showing appreciation. It's a big theme in Islam, being grateful. Somebody here mentioned it, being grateful. And that's why when we make the dua, رَبِّ ارْحَمْهُمَا كَمَا رَبَّيَانِي صَغِيرًا. We're asking Allah to have mercy on them. Why? Because of how they looked after us when we were small. Islam is a religion of appreciation. Islam shows from the mahasin of Islam that a person is appreciative of everything that has been done to him. First of all with Allah, secondly with the khalq, with the creation. And if we say you do good to those who do good to you, then who is most deserving out of the creation? Your own parents, because of what they did for you as you were growing up. And even subhanallah, وَإِن جَاهَدَاكَ عَلَى أَن تُشْرِكَ بِي مَا لَيْسَ لَكَ بِهِ عِلْمٍ فَلَا تُطِعْهُمَا وَصَاحِبْهُمَا فِي الدُّنْيَا مَعْرُوفًا. The worst possible thing is shirk. If your parents were non-Muslims and they said to you, commit shirk, worship Jesus, worship other than Allah, worship this, do this, disobey Allah, Allah says don't obey them in that. Even though they're telling you to do the worst thing, but what does He say? وَصَاحِبْهُمَا فِي الدُّنْيَا مَعْرُوفًا. But accompany them in this world and be good to them. Look after them. Be dutiful towards them. Just because they're telling you to do something that is against the rights of Allah, you don't obey them in that. But at the same time, Allah does not want you to be unappreciative. Allah doesn't want you to be somebody who is ungrateful. Rather, show your gratitude, show your appreciation. And perhaps through that, they will accept Islam. But even if they don't, remember, this is to show that Islam is a religion of shukr, religion of appreciation, that a person does never forget. That's why even when a non-Muslim does good to you, you do good back to them in return. Because Islam is a religion of appreciation and being grateful. Also here, another thing to mention that is the keeping of family ties. Yes, keeping of family ties. Family ties in Islam, your grandparents from both sides, your uncles and aunts from both sides, your maternal aunt, your paternal aunt, your uncles, and so on, your cousins, all these, to keep family ties with them. This is also from al-ihsan. Also from al-ihsan is how we are in our own families, siblings, how you get along with each other. The husband and the wife, how they get along with each other. The child and the parent, the relationship that the child listens to the parent. For example, the husband and the wife, the husband looks after the wife, provides for her, the wife in return she obeys him and takes care of the household for him. So here there's a environment of gratitude and appreciation, that everybody appreciates and shows gratefulness to each other. طيب. Also, al-ihsan, keeping kinship, as we mentioned, yeah, forgiveness, good, very important. Somebody does you wrong, from the ihsan is that you forgive them. You could get your revenge, but at the same time, even better is that you forgive them. Also, looking after the poor. When you see somebody that's struggling, being good towards them, trying to help them out, and all these things. Also, what we've mentioned here, we've mentioned more on the creation, meaning humankind, but we haven't mentioned the other aspects of creation, and that is the animals and the environment. For example, when you see an animal that is hungry, to feed that animal, this is from ihsan. In the scorching heat, you see an animal that is thirsty, to provide water for that animal. This is also from al-ihsan. When you see an animal that is suffering, to relieve them from the suffering, is from al-ihsan. And environment as well, even how we react with this, how we are with this planet, as Allah has made us khulafa al-ard, successors of this earth, that we are responsible of looking after this earth. The Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam saw a man and he was doing wudu with a lot of water. And Rasulullah said that you're making israf, you're doing, you're being wasteful. Yeah, you're not using the resources with proper care. Look at this, subhanAllah. Only now, 1,400 years later, they realize the importance of being careful with the resources in the environment, and that you got to look after things. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam taught us this 1,400 years ago. Even when you're doing something noble like wudu, be careful with the water. We just put the water up full blast and let it run. And then the man said, is there israf in wudu? Like, we know that there be israf in other things, but even in wudu? And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, yes, وَلَوْ كُنْتَ فِي نَهْرٍ جَارٍ. Even if you're in a flowing river, subhanallah, even when you're in a flowing river, just to appreciate that ni'mah, you don't start wasting that water. Use what you need, and don't be wasteful, even though there's a flowing river. So how about when we have taps and when we have bottles of water and all these things, to show you the importance of al-ihsan in everything. طيب. Again, subhanallah, وَأَحْسِنْ كَمَا أَحْسَنَ اللَّهُ إِلَيْكَ. Yani, give to the people from Allah's bounty to you. What Allah has given to you, Allah has given you with wealth, help those people who have not been blessed the same. So here we can see many aspects of the beauty of al-Islam when it comes to al-ihsan, when it comes to perfection and doing good. There's another aspect of al-ihsan, going good. And here we remember the hadith, وَفِي كُلِّ كَبْدٍ رَطْبَةٍ أَجَرٍ. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, in every living creature is a reward. And subhanAllah, they talk about animal rights today. This is something that is from the essence of al-Islam, looking after and caring for all the different creation, even from the lowest of the creation, like the dog. And we know the story of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam related to his companions, that Allah forgave who? Forgave the prostitute. A prostitute, somebody who does zina, wal iyadu billah, a woman who does the most evil acts. What happens? She was walking and she saw the dog that was thirsty and in the heat. She goes down to the well and she ties her sock with water and feeds the dog, or quenches the thirst of this dog, the water. And she is a zania. She's somebody who does zina, one of the major sins. Yet subhanallah, Allah was appreciative of this act that she did, and Allah forgave her for that, for a zina, because of this action that she did. To show you that Allah appreciates all ihsan, all goodness towards the creation. And so this woman who did these evil sins, because of her ihsan towards the khalq, because of her goodness towards the creation, then Allah also forgave her and appreciated her action. طيب. Moving on, inshallah, towards the end of the hadith, the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, وَإِذَا ذَبَحْتُمْ فَأَحْسِنُوا الذَّبْحِ. When you slaughter the animal, when you need to slaughter an animal, you do so with perfection. Slaughter well. And how can you do this? And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam mentioned, by sharpening the blade. You don't go there with a blunt knife and try to slaughter the animal so that it suffers. And neither do you cause the animal suffering. Those of you that perhaps in your own home countries, when you go back and you do slaughter, where you're here, we can't do it unless obviously you have the license or something like this. But many of you that have been perhaps to your countries back home, whether it be in Africa or in the Middle East or Asia or any of these countries where you can go and slaughter yourself, you'll know that there's a trait, there's a knowledge behind this experience. How a person needs to do it. So, for example, when you take the animal, you don't take it out in front of everyone, all the other animals, and slaughter it there. No, you take it on the side. Likewise, when you take the animal, you don't just like show it the knife openly. No, you hide the knife. You take the animal with care, put it down, hold the legs. Yeah, all these things need to be done. And also, when you're slaughtering the animal, you don't do it like some people. They get passionate in there, and they go in at one side. You do it swiftly. Yeah, you're making sure that all the veins are cut off. Yeah, and even then, once because when the knife is sharp, subhanAllah, I've seen when some people they do it like they're doing like practice or something. They don't know, they've never done it before. They've been practicing and they're doing it from one side, and the animal is suffering. All you do is just going across the throat, making sure that all the veins here are cut, the main veins here are cut, and when you do it swiftly, it's a way that the animal doesn't suffer. There's no suffering for the animal. وَلْيُرِحْ ذَبِيحَتَهُ. Let him take away or ease any pain that the animal is going through. And subhanAllah, even then, once you've slaughtered it, once you've cut off and the animal's now bleeding out, you wait. You don't start cutting the animal straight away. You wait until everything all the blood has pumped out of the animal. And as they say, the animal itself has now like rested. The ruh has completely come out, so that you don't start torturing the animal. And subhanAllah, they want to say that Islam is barbaric and all these things, which we'll get to at the end, inshallah. But to show you, look at how even with this, when you want to enjoy the animals and eat from them, even with that we have to be careful that we don't cause the animal suffering and we don't cause it to be hurt. And they think that they are, subhanAllah, how do you know what's happening with the animal when you put it to sleep, and then how they do it, they slaughter it slowly and slaughter it from the back of the neck sometimes, and all this. That is torture to the animal. Or they knock it with a hammer and all types of craziness. Whereas Islam came to teach us the perfect way in everything. Like,
Well, do you put the animal to sleep and then you like?
no, if you put it to again, putting it to sleep, you're
Not like knocking it out and just like actually putting it to sleep and then.
no, but animals they're not like babies where you can stop putting them to sleep or anything. But the point is that when the animal is slaughtered, and we're going to get to this in the end, inshallah. When the animal is slaughtered, it's done swiftly and without pain. It's done swiftly and without causing it pain. And that's why how it's done, how we see is being done. This is the best way, because that cuts off, and even scientifically, there's no pain going to the brain, as they say, because you cut off the main arteries, so you cannot feel the pain. Allah is the one who wrote. We don't need to go to science for this. Allah is the one who commanded us. We'll get the questions at the end, inshallah. Allah is the one who commanded. And that's why here the important point is that when you do these things, it needs to be done by somebody who has the knowledge, not somebody who's trying to practice on there. You want to learn how to do it, you go to somebody who's professional, who's done it before, who's got experience. He shows you how to do it. You see it yourself, and then you do it. Like many of us maybe have had the opportunity to do at our home countries. Right. When it comes to, I want to finish off here and expel some certain doubts, because here somebody might read the hadith and say, oh, Islam allows you, again going back to the hadith we mentioned about killing, فَإِذَا قَتَلْتُمْ فَأَحْسَنُوا الْقِتْلَةِ. If you're going to kill, you kill properly. This is talking about when?
Animals.
It's talking about animals, but it also could be talking about humans, but in what context? In qisas, or
There's no qisas.
Huh? There is some of the those that explain the hadith, they say that this is primarily talking about animals, but because the hadith says فَإِذَا قَتَلْتُمْ فَأَحْسَنُوا الْقِتْلَةِ وَإِذَا ذَبَحْتُمْ فَأَحْسَنُوا الذَّبْحَ. So here they mention even when it comes to killing, even when it's talking about qisas, or if we say it's talking about qisas, or it's talking about warfare where you're going to fight, even in this we have to have ihsan, subhanallah. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he forbade the people from doing what they used to do. They used to do tamthil, where they cut off the nose, cut off the hands of the dead. Why? Because you're so angered by this enemy that now you want to completely humiliate them. So you cut off their nose, or you torture them, and all these types of things. This is not from Islam. No matter what he has done, if he has done something that has caused his execution or capital punishment, it is done again swiftly. Not this way that these people, is ISIS and things they do, they slaughter them like they slaughter the animals. This is not from Islam at all. Some of them, they go and when they want to do the execution for a murderer, for example, the murderer is executed. He's executed swiftly. There's one swipe of the blade, no pain. Khalas, it's gone straight. No matter what happened, we don't start to take things in our own hands and start torturing them. We take the thing into our own hands. If they did something that was evil, Allah will deal with them. What's upon us? You fulfill the punishment of Allah. We're talking about in an Islamic country, in the Islamic judicial system. But even with the killing is done swiftly. Not like how they do with the animals. We're not animals. We're human beings. We have a different way of being treated. So the person is one swift thing of the sword. Secondly, we'll get into the point, inshallah. Secondly, what's important here is even if the person is in war, you still do not do something that will cause them torture. You still don't go to do something that will torture. That's why here is the ulama, they use this even in war. فَإِذَا قَتَلْتُمْ فَأَحْسِنُوا الْقِتْلَ. When the soldier's fighting, he needs to kill the enemy in a way that there's no torture. We don't do things where we chop off limbs and let them start like how they're doing now with our brothers and sisters in Gaza. This is not from Islam. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam prevented from not only chopping off the limbs, but also killing those who are non-combatants, whether they be the priests and the rabbis in the worship places, whether they be children, whether they be women, whether they be the elderly. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam forbade us from even attacking any of these people. So look at the ihsan where it spreads out to everything. Even with qisas, for example, somebody, al-ainu bil-ain, which is also in the books of the people of the book, that the eye for the eye or the ear for the ear, it has to be done exact in kind, without going further, without going transgressing the limits. طيب. And here we mentioned that Islam here clearly talks about the balance. So we don't believe in just killing animals for no reason, for sport. We kill animals for a reason, and that is to feed ourselves, because we believe that Allah gave us those animals for that reason. The cattle and all these things, Allah gave us for that reason, so that as a rizq for us, as a provision for us. But at the same time, we don't go on the other extreme and we say that, oh no, you can't kill the animals, let them live, and it's not for us to take their lives and all these things. You're denying what Allah has given for humanity, that Allah has provided us with these things to eat from. And the last one I want to deal with is, does that mean that a Muslim cannot be a vegan? We say if a Muslim chose to be a vegetarian is somebody who doesn't have the aqidah with it, doesn't have the belief with it. He says, I don't want to eat meat and chicken. If he has his personal choice, then two conditions we say. So long as number one, you don't make it haram. Don't make eating meat. Ya ayyuhan nabiyyu lima tuharrimu ma halallahu lak. Allah said to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, why do you make haram upon yourself what Allah made for you halal? Allah made eating sheep and goats and cows and camels. He made it halal for you. Chicken, all that is halal for you. Don't make it haram upon yourself. But if you say, I just personally don't like the taste, then there's no problem with that. Second condition, you don't believe what you're doing is better. Don't think that what you're doing is bringing you closer to Allah. Or I don't slaughter animals, so I'm a good person. No, that's nonsense. Don't believe that. Because that would mean that you're denying what Allah has given to humanity. And Allah says, لا تحرموا الطيبات ما أحل وقل من حرم زينة الله التي أخرج لعباده والطيبات من الرزق. Who is the one that made haram the pure things that Allah has made? Allah has called these things pure things. Sheep and animals and all these things that are halal for us, they are pure for us. So a person goes to do this, he gets rewarded inshallah. So the point here is, a person can be a vegetarian so long as he doesn't believe that it's haram to do those things. And secondly, he doesn't think that what he's doing is better. Me avoiding meat is better. He avoids these things, then if he doesn't want to eat meat and chicken, nobody can force him to do so. But being a vegan is haram. Being a vegan is, in fact, kufr. Because what is vegan? We're not allowed to eat meat. We're not allowed to eat chicken. We're not even allowed to have the things that they've provided. The eggs are for them. The milk is for them. We can't take from that. It is nonsense. That belief, having that belief, is denying the fadl and the favors of Allah that Allah has given to you. طيب. I think that wraps everything up, inshallah. So, what was going to say, Abdurrahman?
You get rewarded for slaughtering animals like in the correct way?
Of course, if a person slaughters the animal in the correct way, without causing it torture, and he does it for a reason to feed the people, then he will get rewarded. And if you do, for example, to feed the poor, then even more reward. To feed your relatives, then even more reward. Feeding your neighbors, then you will get rewarded for doing that sacrifice. That brother, sorry, brother, he had his question. Sorry, I'll come back to it.
Thank you for the lecture here. I have one question about the perfections.
Yeah.
It's something, it's a very broad term, because
Yeah, very broad term, yes.
when you talk about the perfection, what I understood, like, do everything with a perfection. So, for example, like if you focus on your profession or on the worldly things,
Yeah.
and you work hard for the perfection, so there will not be a balance, because you will be too much focused on the worldly things. What I understood, we have to do things in a balanced way,
Yeah.
worldly and focus on,
Yeah.
on a religious perspective, because if you struggle too much on one thing,
Yeah.
go for the perfection, so you will be on one side.
No, I think what we mean by perfection is what you do, like the brother mentioned, is honesty and integrity with your dealings, and doing things to the best of your ability, not doing things half-heartedly. But of course, at the same time, it's not from ihsan to have what do they call excessive disorders or something like this, like where people have OCD. So it's OCD, where a person goes overboard and like now I won't present this until every little thing is no. That's a bit of a disorder. That is. We're talking about just generally. So, for example, when you're at your workplace, I don't know. For example, if you're doing deliveries, for example, you do deliveries in a manner that that will be that the customer is pleased with. This is from ihsan. Without like giving them with a smile, saying nice words, making sure that it's delivered in the right place. Not throwing it, handling it with care. All these things are from an ihsan, and a person can do that and also be somebody who worships Allah and focuses on his akhirah. No problem with that. But when we're saying the person like now your whole life has become dedicated to what you're doing or the minor details, and you have this like I said, the OCD. That's not ihsan. That's a disorder that the person needs to fix with himself. But we're talking about generally when you do any job that you're doing, you make sure that you do it well. Because the reality is that a person, if he doesn't have that fear of Allah, then he'll say, nobody's watching me. I can just get this done through a very easy way. Do shortcuts, and you can do the shortcuts so long as the end product is what was supposed to be done. You understand my point there?
Do the things right.
Yeah, do the things right and do it to the best of your ability. To the best of your ability, and be honest with yourself, even when nobody's watching you. We don't need the line manager on top of us to tell us this is the point. The Muslim doesn't need somebody on top of him because he believes Allah is watching me. I am taking money for this job. I will make sure I do it properly. This is the point. You understand? When a person has that fear of Allah, he has that taqwa, Allah is watching me. My line manager, he's left me to it, and I get my money at the end of the day. The Muslim is going to be concerned with, am I getting my money correctly? So, for example, I'm going to sell a car, there's a defect in there, and then the average person will say, oh, there's no defects, the car's all okay. But the Muslim who fears Allah, listen, the price of the car was £1,000. I'm knocking it down this much because there's a defect. You won't be able to see it unless you did a full checkup. And maybe even with a full checkup, you might be not able to see it. But because the believer does good in everything, he lets the person know. This is what we mean by ihsan, doing good. Right. Let me just quickly go through some of these questions and we'll take questions. So if he has Aus in his name, then when he's from tribe, I know that's just a name. It's not Aus wal Khazraj, but that's the name of his father is Aus. So it doesn't necessarily mean that he's not Aus, the one who is the head of the tribe. It's just his name was Aus, but he's from Al Khazraj, Shaddad ibn Aus Al Khazraji. طيب. Is stunning the animal before slaughter a permissible way? So when it comes to this, I'm not going to get too into the details of it, but the Quran explicitly says that we're not allowed to eat the animals that are killed by either strangling, thrown off the cliff, beaten to death, etc. All these, they're not the ones that have been thrown off, the ones that's been killed by an injury. We're not allowed to eat them. Now, if the animal was stunned, now listen, I'm not talking about what's best, I'm talking about permissible. If the animal was stunned but not killed and then slaughtered, then it is permissible. According to the correct opinion, it is permissible so long as it was alive when it was slaughtered. If the stunning didn't kill the animal, then it's permissible. I'm not saying that's the best way. It's not the best way. The best way is the sunnah way, to take the animal as it is and to slaughter it straight away. But we're talking about, remember, there's a difference between that which is permissible and that which is preferred. Yeah? So preferred is one thing. Yes, you do it everything the correct way. But if a person was to stun the animal and the animal did not die from the stunning, and then they slaughtered the animal, the correct opinion, inshallah, from the ulama mentioned, is that you've not killed the animal, so it's permissible. However, what you've done is disliked. What you've done is disliked. So here, remember, when you're going to say something is haram, you need to have clear evidence to say so. The Quran is talking about those animals that were killed in the process of the hit, or that were killed by the injury that it sustained, and so on. Because, for example, we know that if the animal did get an injury, or the animal did fall or something like that, and you managed to get to it and slaughter it in time, then it is permissible for you to eat that animal. It's not permissible if it dies from that cause. Does that make sense? Fine. If the animal has caused pain during its killing, does that make it haram to eat? Jazakallah khairan. Okay, so again, these are things that the sin would be upon the one who caused the animal pain. If the conditions are met, he slaughtered the halal way, he slaughtered it by taking the thing. If he said the Bismillah, Allahu Akbar, if the animal itself meets all the conditions, then if we found out later on that the animal was caused pain, the sin is on the one who slaughtered, not on the one who ate the meat. Not on the one who ate the meat. There's no sin on him. Right.
So what of the animal which was caught by hunting dogs?
The animal that okay, yeah, the hunting dogs, yeah. This is also mentioned in the Quran. That if you do hunt, if you have whether it be the dogs or the predators or things, when you release them with the name of Allah. When you release them with the name of Allah, then it is permissible for you to eat from them. So you can use the hunting animals. If you forget to say Bismillah when you, then it will be the same as the one person who forgot to say Bismillah when he slaughtered the animal. There'll be it has become according to the majority opinion, it is haram. Some of the ulama said if he had the intention, but he didn't physically say it, then it is halal for him. But majority of the scholars say that becomes haram. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I'm not sure which madhab, but one of the it's not the majority opinion. It's so long as he had the intention, but he didn't say it, utter it, then it's halal. But most of the scholars, I can get back to you on that one as well, to make sure. Most of the scholars say if you didn't say it, then it's become haram. So likewise, the same ruling would be with the animals. Allah clearly mentions in the Quran that when you release the hunting dog or the bird of prey, whatever it is, to get the animal, you do so in the name of Allah. Yeah, so that's permissible to do so. Yeah. Sorry? Qasas means when a person, so for example, as Allah mentioned in the Quran, and this is something that was also revealed to the Jews and the Christians, that an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, a nose for a nose, an ear for an ear, where you have complete retribution. So for example, the killer killed someone, his life is taken because he killed someone. The murderer is killed. This is what we mean by qasas. Yeah, and that would prevent from people feeling bad. So for example, Allah protect all our families. A killer comes and kills someone in your family. How are you going to feel about that? You're going to be very upset, and you're going to want for justice to be done, right? If they say to him he's going to go into prison for 8 years, so you say, hold on, my family member, his life ends, but he gets to live. Would you be happy with that? He goes into prison for 10 years. If he's good, then he can come out in 8 years or something. This is not justice. But Islam, the Sharia, gives you the option. Do you want retribution? Not you yourself. You don't go and take it into your own hands. You go to the Islamic court, the judge, the executioner comes. Okay, you want him to end his life. That's it. You don't go now and kill his family and his whole tribe and his mom and his sister and his brothers. And no, it's a life for a life. But look at what Islam gave to us that the previous nations didn't. What's that? That whoever forgives, then that's even better. You can forgive him, and he can be pay the blood money instead. That would be better. Yeah.
When you say like you sharpen the knife and like you cut the throat,
Yeah.
how can you cut the throat because of the bones on his neck?
No, that's what I say. Don't compare yourself to animals. Animals, especially the sheep, subhanAllah, how Allah created them. This bit here, and you'll see. Those hands up, those that have managed to do a dhabiha. Yeah. Yeah. So if you go, even when you, inshallah, if you go to the farm and you're allowed to play with the animals, if you just touch here, you'll see how very soft it is, very tender, very tender. Yeah. And when you slaughter it, when you see how it's done, it doesn't require too much force as well. Subhanallah, this is how it's been created. You just have, if you have a very sharp knife, just a swift and firm movement across the thing, and khalas, you've taken all the main without cutting any bone. You understand? The bone is at the back.
So do you like cut all around the neck?
No, not all around. It's just like here, the forefront here. So if you look at the sheep, you have the part of the neck here.
If you slice it like this, is it like done?
That's it. Huh? No, it's very simple. It's the front here. You have the main veins, the main arteries, and then it's done with a very sharp knife, and it's done in a swift motion, and it's done not all around. You're not going all around the neck. You're just at the forefront of the neck, and that's when the animal is slaughtered like that, without having to go. You don't have to go all the way till you take off. You're not supposed to do that. That's not right.
You still understand.
No, you do it and you cut off the main arteries and you see that the blood's come out.
I'll take it back. Stand next to you and show
Yeah. When inshallah, when you see, you can think. Huh? Sorry? What's the age of the animal? No, it can be done at any age, but when it's the young one is a lot more tastier. Yeah, unless it depends if it's for udhiyah, if the qurbani, then you have a certain age. For example, 6 months for the sheep, 1 year for the goat, 2 years for the cow, and 5 years for the camel, and so on. Same thing applies for the aqiqah when you have a child. But anything else you wanna, you can have it from. There's no whatever age that you want. Like now here they have like we're coming to the age where we're coming to the time of the year where we have spring lambs. They're very tasty because the younger they are, the tastier they are. The less smell there is in the meat. No. They're saying Bismillah and then shoot the lamb in the head. No, because the only time where we don't is when you're releasing the hunting dogs or something like that. They'll go and they'll attack. But when you're slaughtering it, there's only one way, and that's with the sharp knife.
It's a good question, actually. So, hunters hunting rifles.
Yeah.
If they said Bismillah and shot from afar,
Yeah.
By the time we get to them, if they're dead, then it's haram. But if they're still alive at that point, we've shot them. Just to immobilize them. And slaughter them.
Yeah. I mean, that's what is known, is that if you attack the animal and then you get in time and you slaughter it. If it was killed through the thing, I'll have to confirm that with you. I don't know. But yeah, generally that's the ruling, is that when you say Bismillah, and I would have to, now it's with guns. So if you're to shoot it and then quickly get to it, slaughter it in time, then that's
if you don't use proper bullets, if you use like
they use, that's what they use.
That's not going to kill the animal.
Yeah, that's not going to kill the animals.
Yeah, airsoft.
Yeah, they use it like metal ball bearings.
قتلتم فاحسنوا القتلى هل هي في القصاص؟ لأنه رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أمر باليهودي الذي قتل الجارية